Thank you for watching the Q&A session with Marie Davis. Landegger Verano Davis is an employment law firm exclusively representing employers and business owners. We have over 40 years of experience in advising and defending employers. Before we begin, please like our video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and turn on the notification bell to receive video updates. So let's talk about what's new this time.
New and improved emergency paid sick leave law that went into effect, which requires employers of 26 or more employees to provide up to 80 hours of paid COVID leave with no tax deduction, no tax credits. This is 100% coming out of the employer's coffers, up to $5,110. And they can literally take this for any reason. Like, for example, they try to say, oh, there's two banks, right?
I like that.
They try to say there's two banks, but really there's not. The first bank is you can take 24 hours of leave because you had a bad reaction to the vaccine. And then you can take 16 hours of leave because your mother or spouse came down with symptoms, or you had symptoms, but you haven't been actually diagnosed as having COVID. So that's 40 hours. And then you get a whole nother 40 hours for if you do test positive for COVID, or if your mother tests positive for COVID, or if your child tests positive for COVID. So it's really 80 hours. And I know I've already gotten calls from clients, and I will continue to get calls from clients saying, well, haven't they really used up the first bank and the second bank, and don't they aren't they can't think of the word, overlapping? And the answer is no. And if you want to be safe, just pay them the 80 hours, because $5,110 is still a heck of a lot cheaper than having that paid sick leave denied and then having a labor commissioner complaint or a lawsuit filed.
Oh yes, all of those beautiful letters, love, right? The
right.
FEHA, the
CFRA,
yes.
the EEOC, the DLSC. I know.
It's alphabet soup, HR
all
style.
of those acronyms.
Exactly.
It's amazing.
So we got those calls as well. And actually we got the calls ahead of time because the news started saying, hey, this is coming at least a week or so before. And so we had people say, well, I hear it's the law now, it's on the news, so you got to pay it up. And I tried to explain, no, not until the 19th. And yes, I know it's retroactive. And you came to mind immediately with one call because someone said they had reached out to one of the big brand payroll companies and had asked them to put in the code so that they could pay, because they currently had somebody that was out. And even though it was retroactive, they wanted to be proactive and just make sure that their employees did not miss a beat. And the big brand basically said, sorry, you have to wait until the 19th when we're going to start to put that in. So you will eventually be able to do this. So the reason I bring this up is there's no, you have to wait. I mean, in essence, once the employee requests that leave at this point, you really have to move forward with it. Is that correct?
That's correct. And also, what this is an important point. All the employer has to do is ask for it, because this is something that also our clients are constantly saying, can't I ask for a medical doctor's note? Can't I ask for a positive test? No, you really can't. You just need written or oral requests in order to be eligible for the leave. And then you have one payday in order to pay it.
Right.
So yes, it has to be paid by the very next paycheck.
Which means your payroll companies should have on a dime be able to put that code back in, because there was a code just in December for it.
Correct.
So it's not like they were being asked to really move mountains. It was something, again, I'm not in payroll, I'm just in HR. And I think, hey, you know, this is something that I want my clients, because I don't want employees to be upset. Once you upset the employee, then they don't trust you and they don't trust anything you say, and it spirals down.
Yeah, and also remember, you can't rely on your payroll company to be liable for these types of mistakes. And I think that's incredibly important. I hear this all the time. Well, Paychex did it. It's Paychex's fault. Good luck. Okay, no, that is not. All Paychex and ADP are facilitating the ability to write the checks, right, and act as the middleman. They are not liable for anything. It is you as the employer.
Right, which means you really do need to stay on top of them. And I mean, that's one of the things that, you know, a Tharbor workforce does offer payroll. And I asked the question last week, how quickly could they have turned? And Trisha said 2 seconds, literally 2 seconds, because she, as concierge for payroll, wants to make sure that the employers don't have somebody to blame. You know, we want to be as amenable to everything. I wanted to let you talk a little bit more about this because these buckets, I mean, for the first time, I've actually seen the term bucket used in explaining. How does this coordinate with already the 24 hours of sick time? Is this in addition to?
It is, isn't that wonderful, Rosandra? Yes, any other PTO that you've offered your employees, whether it be vacation or the California paid sick leave law, you are not allowed to make them exhaust either of those buckets first. They exhaust the COVID first. And also, if they've taken time off between January 1 and February 19th for anything that's related to COVID, like the vaccine or having the symptoms or whatever,
Go back and pay them.
you have to go back and reimburse those things. So if they took 40 hours off of vacation in order to cover that time between January 1 and February 19th, you have to give them back those 40 hours.
Funny you should say that, because the big brand that my client called said that it was their policy to have the employee use their sick and vacation time before they used any of the COVID sick time. And I said, no, please don't do that. And we're going to need to reimburse. And
I'm glad that's your policy, but that's not the state of California's policy.
like, would you like to tell California that? Because I know what they're going to say. We're on a fundraising effort, right?
I know.
Always.
It's so insane. It really is. And then like, I know this is a little bit off topic, but like now we don't have a mask mandate for, and we've never had a vaccine, requirement here in Ventura County.
Right.
We have still the vaccine requirement, or you have to show your card to go inside a restaurant in LA. Now you don't have to wear a mask, but you still have to show your vaccine card. I went to a national chain restaurant on Wednesday. And not only did I have to show my vaccine card, they made me show an ID, which I think is a bridge too far because they've never done that before. And now bars, restaurants, and wineries it's being enforced that all of their employees are actually vaccinated, fully vaccinated.
Right.
So that's a whole new ballgame. And then,
know.
so I go to work in Sherman Oaks once in a while. I come back here, I'm like, I don't know, am I supposed to wear the mask? Do I have to have the card? What am I doing? I didn't know I had to have an ID.
We've had
Well,
a
you
lot
were
of that.
driving, weren't you, Maureen?
Well,
You would need the ID
Out.
as a lawyer, but
That's
I-
not
I-
her field.
I got
It's
a
not employment.
question about the face mask because there's a real big misconception amongst employers that a face mask is optional for employees. And my interpretation is that OSHA's emergency temporary standards are still in effect until April 14th, which is what binds the employers. So face masks are required at least until the 14th, right?
I agree. And that is the problem, is that we have all of these government agencies offering conflicting information. So OSHA has never had this much power. OSHA is very happy for the last 2 years. They've gotten to make all these rules and regulations, and now there's the assembly and the Senate getting involved as well. So
Well, but I just want to make sure that everyone understood that the optional wearing of the face mask is not for the employees. It's actually for guests or patrons. At this point, the employees still do need to wear their face masks if we're going to follow what OSHA is saying.
If we're following
and they
OSHA.
have to be non-cloth. They have to be the N95.
The
That's what we have.
N95. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
So it's very complicated, very confusing.
Okay,
and-
well, so at least I wasn't very confused.
No,
Yes.
you weren't. But we do still get those phone calls. We get the phone calls also. Okay, is it 14 days? Is it 10 days? I mean, that's all changing. But the biggest part is, what does vaccinated mean nowadays? Because some people are saying, well, I only had the first shot. Oh, I had the first and second, but I'm not getting boosted. Oh, well, I didn't have any. I mean, there's all of these variations. I've never been in a world where we interpret to our liking. Like that's not my world. Like my world is more like, this is what it is. And this is just what it is. Let's talk about vaccinations, because do you still get those questions? Can I make my company have a vaccination policy and everyone has to follow it?
Yes, and in fact, now that if you're a bar, restaurant, or winery, you have even more reason to say that, this is the state, not me, making you be fully vaccinated. Fully vaccinated means you've had 2 doses of Pfizer or Moderna. You don't have to be boosted yet in order to be considered fully vaccinated.
And I know that goes back and forth, because at one point they said the booster had to be in there, and at other points they're like, yeah, not really, because that's just an addition.
Correct. And then in public health agencies, obviously they have to be fully vaccinated. So then you're left with just your private employers that, like sign painting shop,
Right,
for example,
right.
if they've got, what do you do in that situation? And I've been telling my clients, it's really up to them. There's still a risk that someday soon, my crown keeps playing, someday soon, there will be a law or a court case that says you actually cannot force your employees to get vaccinated.
Right.
But at the moment, there's no such case in effect. And as long as you allow for disability accommodations and religious accommodations, then I don't see a problem with mandating vaccines. And so, okay, I still refuse to get a vaccine. It's not for a religious reason, and it's not for a disability reason. It's just because I don't want to get vaccinated. Then we recommend not termination, but putting them on a leave of absence until they get the vaccine.
Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to wines, bars, and breweries for a second.
Yeah, because that's
Because
important to us.
That's important. At least to me, it's important.
Right, got the beat.
Yeah, got the beats. I know that there's some of the smaller wineries and breweries that don't have employees, but they use volunteers. Would the volunteers be required to be vaccinated?
You
to be able to help?
keep using this word.
Required? or
No, volunteers. It's like,
There's no
there's no
volunteers.
such thing as a volunteer. No, we want to be clear that no. Don't tell any, oh man, do not have volunteers, okay?
Thank
Because
you.
if that volunteer decides, wakes up one day and goes, I was never a volunteer, you're gonna owe them an awful lot of money. Because in order to be a real volunteer, you have to be working for a company like the Rotary Club, and you have, or a church, and
But
you
we're
have
not
to,
working, we're giving them our time.
but you can't legally unless it's for like the Rotary Club or a church or something
A
of that
nonprofit,
nature.
yes.
Yes.
California says if you do work, you're not a volunteer.
I have a great business idea. Oh, it just hit me. Let's open a winery that's a nonprofit.
I still wouldn't want you to have volunteers, okay? I don't care. Or at least don't tell me. It's the law, I'll keep my, my
And
ears
just
shut.
so you all know, one of the questions that has popped up is how do you prove religion? Well, generally the way you prove religion is that for vaccination purposes, that you also need to have your clergy or your religious leader sign off that you are an active member. It's part of the process.
You need to bring a note.
And not from your mom.
Oh.
Unless your mom is the.
Unless your mom, yeah, and then maybe
All right, but then I know. I
volunteer.
went off on a tangent about volunteers, but the answer is yes. Volunteers, independent contractors who also don't exist, and employees all have to get their vaccines.
Interns?
Yes, interns too.
I love it. See,
Aw.
she's like
She's
making
got
it
everything
fun.
covered.
All right, thank you for joining us, Landegger, Verano, and Davis. We are based in Encino and have 2 satellite offices, one in Pasadena and another one in Camarillo. If you are interested and have questions, you're welcome to contact Marie at 818-986-7561, extension 106. Don't forget to like our video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and turn on the notification bell to get video updates on employment law. Until next time, you have a wonderful day and goodbye.